What's going on, team? It's Caddy with Money Investing. I hope that you all are having an amazing day. So in this video, I'm going to lay down 3 things that we need to focus on going into tomorrow's futures market open, which opens at 6 p.m. Eastern. So this ticker symbol right here, ES1, that's the S&P 500 futures, which is going to open tomorrow at 6 p.m. As of Friday, the markets did fall close to about 1 to 1.24%, and the S&P 500 and Dow Jones are both down on the year. So in this video, I'm going to give you guys an update on the number of cases. We're also going to talk about the update related to the stimulus check and what are some of the current talks related to the next infrastructure bill and also the stimulus payment. And then we will do a technical analysis on the S&P 500 futures, and I will give you guys kind of like an overview of where we've been over the last few days versus where do I personally see the stock market going next week. As always, if you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to drop a like because it really helps out with the YouTube algorithm and recommends this video to other people who might be interested in watching. Also, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future market updates and technical breakdowns related to the stock market. Now, talking about the number of cases, so there was a report that came out today that essentially went over the number of cases that we reported yesterday, and that was well over 30,000 cases in the US alone. And that is the highest number of cases that we have seen on a day-to-day basis since May 2nd. So we just hit a 7-week high in the number of cases that were reported on a day-to-day basis. And according to this chart, you guys can see that we were on a steady decline on the marginal cases that were being reported on a day-to-day basis, until more recently, when now the cases have been marginally going up each day to now well over 31,000 cases yesterday reported, going back as far as May 2nd was the last time when we reported over 30,000 cases. Now, majority of the cases came from states like Florida, Texas, and Arizona, which account for more than 10,000 cases yesterday, representing over 33%. So we are seeing a resurgence in the number of cases, and that can potentially act as a negative catalyst for the markets going into tomorrow when they do open at 6 p.m. Now, talking about the stimulus check update, the Trump administration has proposed an Explore America campaign, which is essentially going to be a $4,000 credit as opposed to cash. So what they're proposing is that they need people to spend money in the travel and tourism industries, and they will refund you, or they will give you a reimbursement or a $4,000 credit to your purchases made in the travel tourism industry. Now, I can see why that's positioned in a way to help those industries. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think about this new campaign or this new proposition of a $4,000 stimulus credit as opposed to the cash which people actually need to pay their bills, pay their utilities, pay their mortgage or rent. So that being said, this news can act as both a positive or a negative catalyst depending on how the market discounts or prices this in. So there's going to be a lot of mixed sentiment in the markets tomorrow when the futures open at 6 p.m. So we can see a little bit of a consolidation before the pattern breaking down or breaking out based on a catalyst. But coming in from Friday, giving you guys a reminder that Apple announced that they were going to close 11 stores in states like Florida, Carolinas, and Arizona due to the resurgence in cases we have seen. That essentially drove the markets lower, both the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones. So the third thing I want to talk about is going to be about consumer spending and corporate profits versus the S&P 500 index itself. So as it stands, the S&P 500 is trading at 22 times its forecasted earnings for the next 12 months, which is a 20-year high. So you guys can see how stocks look a little bit pricey right now for cases like Apple, Amazon, PayPal, Microsoft, companies that are approaching their all-time highs every single day, which is what is forcing the S&P 500 index itself to trade at 22 times its forecasted earnings, which is again a 20-year high. So this right here is going to be consumer spending at the top, and at the bottom, the white line you guys see is going to be corporate profits after taxes. Going back as far as 2008, I wanted to highlight something when the market essentially dropped when we had the global financial crisis related to the housing bubble. The consumer spending dropped close to about 4 to 5%, you guys can see right here. And due to this consumer spending drop, the corporate profits for some of the big corporations dropped close to about 50 to 52%. You guys can see this drop right here. What we're seeing more recently is the consumer spending dropped for the month of May close to about 13 to 13.5%. And from its all-time highs back in January of 2020, we've seen a drop of close to about 20% in total. So you can see how people are not spending as much money as they did earlier this year, which is very self-explanatory due to the fact that we have this global pandemic. Now, because of this drop in consumer spending, the corporate profits after after taxes have not seen a significant decline. As you guys can see, they have a very clear resistance right around this level, which they have hit multiple times back in February of 2012, July of 2014, again March in 2017, and then more recently in August and September of 2019, and they have been going down close to about 17% as of April 2020. So the reason I bring this up is because of the fact that S&P 500 has still been going up regardless of how the fundamentals and earnings are doing. So that just goes to show a little bit of a disconnect between the markets and the economy, which we have gone over multiple times in the past. But I just wanted to kind of give you guys an overview of where consumer spending is versus where corporate profits are, and what is kind of like the outlook on the S&P 500 index itself. So now going into the technical analysis for the S&P 500 futures, in white you're going to see the S&P 500 index itself. That's going to be the ticker symbol SPX, and I've essentially overlaid that on the S&P 500 futures just so we have a very good understanding on how these both are trading, and they're mirroring each other because one of them is a futures contract and the other one is the index itself. So you guys can see how it's trading in the same exact pattern, just a little bit above the S&P 500 futures itself. So as I mentioned in my previous market update, as of Friday, June 19th, the market did gap up, but then it sold off, making lower highs and lower lows, but essentially broke below this red range that we have recognized. Now, obviously, the markets are not trading today, so we won't find out until tomorrow at 6 p.m. where does the futures market open and where can we potentially see the market going next week. Now, in my opinion, I've already shared that since the pattern did break down and there was very heavy volume, I do see the pattern breaking down even further, close to about 2 to 2.5%, and approaching this next support right around the 2980 to 3000 level, which is going to act as the next support for the S&P 500 futures that can result in a drop of about 2%. If that support is breached and if the pattern breaks down even further, then I see the S&P 500 futures and the index itself going down as low as 2920, which is going to be a drop of close to about 4 to 4.5%. Again, this is just my opinion and my analysis of the S&P 500 index and where do I see the patterns going in the near future. But I just wanted to give you guys a couple updates on things that we need to look out for tomorrow's futures market when it opens at 6 p.m. The first one is going to be the number of cases related to the pandemic that have again seen a resurgence, and we are hitting a 7-week high from back on May 2nd, reporting over 30,000 cases. The second thing is going to be related to the stimulus package and the credit, the $4,000 credit that they are proposing, and how that can potentially act as a positive or a negative catalyst. Now, if that were to pass, and if we are seeing people spend more money in the travel tourism industry, we can potentially see higher earnings for companies that are in the industry related to travel tourism, such as airlines and cruise lines. That can result in the stock prices for those going parabolic. And the third thing is going to be related to earnings and how the S&P 500 index is, in my opinion, a little bit disconnected from corporate earnings after taxes, and how it's already trading at a multiple of 22 times for the forecasted earnings for the next 12 months, which again is a 20-year high when we're in the middle of a global pandemic. So just wanted to give you guys a couple updates and things to look out for tomorrow before the futures market opens. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos related to these market updates and technical breakdowns. As always, happy investing, and I will see you guys in the next video.